Good day to everyone. Today in this video we will fight against the advanced character of our world around us, and we will touch the topic from the past, but this topic, despite the fact it's connected with relatively distant past, it has a lot of implications into modern times. I mean, we will talk about good and bad historical literature on the Albigensian heresy, so-called Cathars, or simply heretics of Provence, that reached the territories of nowadays modern France, those days Occitan, completely different ethnically and culturally territory than northern France. They reached from the east, from Armenia, Anatolia, later to territories of modern Bulgaria, Bosnia, and south of France, and the heresy in the beginning of the second millennium started flourishing there in these territories, found good ground to the seeds of the heresy found good ground to germinate into the territories of modern South France and those days Occitania, due to the fact that it was well-connected area with many prosperous cities, many traders, many weavers, craftsmanship was developed. It was one of the most developed regions in the European territory during High Middle Ages, and this was the price it paid for it. Later from the north, crusade against Albigenses just simply was launched against these territories, and they were robbed and destroyed, and heresy, later thanks to Inquisition, was wiped off, luckily. And literature about this heresy is quite broad. Some of the books are pro-Cathar, but they are historically valuable, done with with proper accuracy and scientific honesty. Like quite old book from 1950s, originally published in French, later translated into English by Peter Green, beautifully written Massacre at Montségur by Zoe Oldenburg. Wonderful book, but with pro-Cathar views, showing the bad things that secular powers and Roman Catholic Church did to heretics and to people who supported them. One point of view. Second point of view are pro-Catholic books like the one of Michael Coston about Cathars, or simply Albigensian Crusades presented from the point of view of military history by American historian Joseph Stryer, or book Cathars and Albigenses by French historian Fernand Nil. Short book, very concisely but also beautifully written, presenting the history of heresy and crusade in a very briefly but briefly but in a very informative way as well. This is hard to achieve, but Mr. Fernand Nil achieved, and he doesn't have a lot of sympathy, Pan Ferdinand Nil, to heresy itself, but despite the fact, no, but he was connected with south of France very emotionally, so he has sympathy to southern French, actually southern French, non-French heritage, so that's why you feel sympathy to the when you read his book To the Destroyed South. There are also stupid, I would say, not serious book written recently, like the work by Mr. Mark Gregory Peck, The Most Holy War, where he wanted to prove, this American historian of Australian heritage, that he wanted to prove that Cathars didn't exist, that people of the past confused this what they encountered in modern south of France because it was original culture with specific courtesy behavior, and the Roman Catholic priests and inquisitors just took the text of antiquity about ancient heresies, Manichaean heresies, and heresies related to Manichaeism, and they simply imposed these terms into this what they saw in the modern territories of south of France. This this distinct culture which was existing there those days, and they simply artificially created Catharism or Albigenses, depend how we call them. And for me, such argumentation is funny because despite the fact we don't have many pro-Cathar sources, almost none, but we have very detailed sources from the side of their opponents and very detailed protocols of Inquisition that was created to battle the heresy, and we can really study in detail their beliefs, the protocols of the witnesses, interrogations, and so on and so on. So we can really study these things in detail and even have some insight into the way how people were thinking about their beliefs and about the culture in modern south of France those days, so 8-9 centuries ago. And for me, it's funny that modern historian says, yeah, our ancestors were stupid, were wrong, that just simply were confused, they didn't understand what they were saying, but I understand and I will tell you. It's a sort of hubris and also nowadays a very dangerous trend in every discipline of science and research that people want to make controversial statement, cover them with something that sounds reasonable and scientific, so pseudoscientific bubble, and they want to become famous by formulating such conclusions and promoting such ideas because they know that such approach will lead to more citations because it will generate controversy. So if you want to be intellectually challenged to see how modern science slowly deteriorates and how people try to show that our ancestors were stupid but we are wise because we are who we are and we live now. So The Most Holy War by Mr. Gregory Peck also is a book for you. If you want to see something more pro-Catholic but not so pro-Cathar, Albination Crusade by Mr. Jonathan Sampson is also for you. And why is this topic important? It's really simple, because all of these heresy ideas like approach against family, approach against procreation, approach against giving oaths, approach really against keeping the promises, swearing, keeping the word, and approach against social structures. These are typical ideas of modern leftists, and if we want to know how to fight against it, we need to understand what are the sources of such notions, such views of the world. We have to know how they were developed in the past and how they were eliminated or how they were limited, that words survive. If we understand it, the past, if we understand the mechanism, how such things develop and why, especially among women and young ones, and history can give us the answer, we will know how to battle them nowadays and have our world on the normal road again. So to study the past, the ideological ancestors of modern leftists, we can know, we can learn how to battle their children that are poisoning our life nowadays with the same leftist ideas, also vegetarianism and so on. All the best and have a nice day to all of you. Bye.